Number 12. Uriah Hall. During the filming of Season 17 of The Ultimate Fighter, Hall's spinning hook kick left Adam completely frozen on the floor, making people wondering if he had really died. Uriah himself seemed shocked and worried and even apologized to the knocked-out Cello,
Sorry, Adam.
who thankfully recovered after receiving treatment. Either way, one thing is for certain, none of them is going to forget that knockout anytime soon. Number 11. Altonbek Mamashov. At the ACA 30 event in Russia, UFC fighter Mamashov faced off against Brazilian wrestler Elias Silveiro. Seizing the moment, Mamashov landed a huge right hook that struck Silveiro's jaw square in the middle. The impact of the hit was so harsh that blew out the Brazilian's mouthguard, seconds before dropping paralyzed on the floor. Number 10. Jorge Masvidal. In the welterweight match, Jorge Masvidal, a Cuban-American UFC fighter, launched a devastating flying knee blow that completely demolished Askren in 5 seconds. If that wasn't enough for the poor fellow, Jorge didn't stop there. He kept hitting him and mocking him while on the ground, showing absolute no respect to his passed-out opponent. Number 9. Matt Riddle. Just moments after touching gloves, entering into the second round, Riddle caught Simler with a monstrous right hook to the chin, dropping the middleweight to the canvas. He followed up with 2 powerful ground strikes, leaving Simler out for the count as the referee dived in to halt the fight. In scary scenes after the bell, Massachusetts native Simler lay prone on the ground, groaning worryingly as medical staff tended to him, finding out that he had broken his jaw in 3 places. Number 8. Edson Barboza. Barboza has given us one of the best knockouts in the history of the UFC in his fight against Terry Edom at UFC 142. Junior knocked out his opponent via a beautiful and perfect spinning wheel kick that literally froze his opponent for a second before hitting the canvas, leaving Joe Rogan and the rest of the audience in complete shock. Number 7. Dan Henderson. In what many consider to be the knockout of the year back in 2009, Dan Henderson defeated Michael Bisping at historic UFC 100 in a knockout that will forever haunt the British fighter, which led to many amount of MMA memes. Hendo landed his trademark H-bomb on the count and definitively shut the lights out in a vicious finish. He then followed up with a slamming hammer fists to the face to seal the deal, making sure the Brit would not get back off the canvas, which of course had a very slim chance of ever happening. Number 6. Gary Goodridge. It was at UFC 8 back in 1996 that the world of mixed martial arts witnessed what considered to be one of the most brutal knockouts in UFC history. It was when Herrera tried the fireman's carry only to get himself trapped in a crucifix position by Gary. Goodridge then proceeded to land several nasty elbows to Herrera's head, knocking the latter out cold. Number 5. Yuri Prochazka. After a UFC Fight Night card that saw only one finish before the light heavyweight main event, Yuri Prochazka left a lasting impression with his knockout of 2-time world title challenger Dominic Reyes. The wild back-and-forth battle came to a standing end when Prochazka connected with a spinning back elbow that knocked Reyes out cold for the second round finish. Number 4. Matt Brown. A brutal elbow called a halt to proceedings during the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 120, when Matt the Immortal knocked out Diego Nightmare in round 1 of their welterweight bout. The Immortal caught a kick from Sanchez and backed Diego onto the fence before landing an elbow flush to the head of Sanchez that sent him crashing to the floor. Number 3. Gabriel Gonzaga. Gonzaga turned the tables and delivered the most terrifying head kick knockout in UFC history back in 2007. The legendary Croatian was expected to see off the Brazilian and book a shot at the UFC heavyweight title. But Napao sprung one of the goat out of nowhere upsets after landing a kick flush on Cro Cop's head during their main event clash. Number 2. Francis Ngannou. Ngannou was 5-1 as a pro before being matched up with Enrique, and he was mostly on the defensive for the first round, as Enrique looked to ground the dangerous striker. However, Ngannou took over in round 2, eventually finding a home for his dynamite hands and pouting his opponent away with a ferocious uppercut. Number 1. Michael Page. Michael Page vs. Cyborg Santos will forever be remembered as the most devastating flying knee knockout of all time, because what's more gruesome than a man's skull literally being crushed in a fight? Miraculously, Santos survived this injury with no major side effects, although it did bring about an end to his fighting career. At the time of the 2016 welterweight fight, MVP was getting his first steps up in competition. Then undefeated, Page's bout against Brazil's Santos pitted him against a well-traveled veteran who had seen it all, except the knee that eventually landed flush on his forehead. That's the end of today's video, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.